This is a workshop that you can follow along with me. I really want to show you how you can train both strength and flexibility together. Depending on like your lifestyle, whether you've had more of a sedentary lifestyle, spent a lot of time in chairs, how active you've been, your history of injuries, you may feel like year after year, you're either losing your flexibility or you'll feel like you're getting weaker or stiffer, maybe a combination of all of those things. We can actually train both. We can blend both strength and flexibility together so that when you are strong and flexible in your joints, it means that everyday tasks become easier. Whether that's getting up and down off the ground, reaching to get something and not getting anything flaring up in your back or your hips. It even means that you can go and do adventurous things like hiking or traveling without the worry you're going to injure yourself or re-aggravate old injury. That's how important this work is. And your reason for getting strong and more mobile might be super simple. It might even be playing with your kids is really important to you, or keeping up with them, or even maybe your grandkids, because the work you do now is going to be an investment for your body in 20, 30 years time. We are going to do a few exercises for the lower body and a few exercises for the upper body that demonstrate full range strength, as well as some loaded stretching, which is a really effective way to build your mobility and your range of motion. All right, let's get into it. So firstly, I want to share with you the goblet squat. It's a very simple exercise, but I think a lot of the time we don't use our maximum range of motion when we are actually training the goblet squat. Although it's a common exercise, there are a few things that we need in order to get a full range goblet squat. Firstly, we need hip flexion here. We need knee flexion, as well as ankle dorsiflexion. So I could do a goblet squat here, and I could do sort of half range and do my goblet squats like this. Now, there are time and a place for goblet squats like this. However, if I only train my squats to here, I am missing strengthening this full range of motion down here. And in everyday life, when it comes to getting up and down off the ground, getting out of lower chairs, we need that range of motion. And if we don't use it, we lose it. So let's figure out how we can make this accessible. Firstly, adding weight is actually going to help you with your core stability. It's going to help you come deeper. So I highly recommend, if you have a weight, to go grab it. Doesn't have to be super heavy, but something that you can keep your form, and it's going to, I usually say for lower body, starting at around 6 kilos and building up from there. So I like to hold the weight like this, like a little Y, elbows tucked in. You want to have enough space for your feet. So don't go too narrow here, because we're not going to be able to get deep enough, especially if we don't have a lot of hip range of motion. So let's bring our feet wider than your hips, toes slightly pointing out. Grab your weight, elbows, the weight right into your chest. Chest upright. We want a really proud chest. We don't want to be letting the weight bring us down. So we're fighting shoulders back to stay upright here. Now, as we go down, we're keeping that weight close. We're staying upright. We're starting to bend the hips, bend the knees, the ankles, seeing if we can come as low as possible. And we're going to pause at that bottom range. Now, this is hard. We're going to pause for 2 seconds here. 1, 2, and then we're going to push through those heels, chest still proud and upright, drive it up. Now, as you drive up, we're making sure those knees aren't collapsing in. We're trying not to come forward. We're trying to push through those feet and drive up. So we're going to go slow, about a 4 count down. This is going to make sure that we really own every part of the range of motion. So grab your weight to your chest, come down through 4, 3, 2, 1. Find your bottom range. See if you can get your elbows close to your thighs here. Chest stays up. 2-second pause, and then drive. Okay, and as we drive, we should feel our glutes turn on as we press upwards. So let's try it again. We're going to do a few of these all together, making sure this isn't taking us forward. Chest upright, coming down Remember, we want to try and get past this 90 degrees. Sinking down, making sure that spine's in neutral. Chest up, 3, 2, 1, drive. So it's always, we're going to do 2 more all together. While I'm talking, you can keep going. It's always a good idea even to film yourself to see what range you've got and to see if you're keeping your back in neutral. We don't want to tuck under at the bottom. We don't want to over tilt, and we want to stay upright. Now, if you find that you can't get low, what I suggest is trying to maybe just try elevating your heels. So you can grab a couple of blocks. If you've got a slant board, even better. But just something, and it doesn't have to be as much as a block. It might even just be a rolled up towel, might be enough. Because if you don't quite have enough ankle dorsiflexion, it's going to probably restrict you. So depending on what previous injuries we've had or restrictions. So you can elevate your heels a little bit here. Bring the weight up. So give this a go. You can even roll up your mat if you have a mat. Coming down, chest upright. Holding at the bottom. And then driving up. And see if you can get just that little bit lower with the heels elevated version. 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause at the bottom and press. So what I want to make sure you do from now on when you do your squats is that you don't rush out of that bottom corner. Really want you to hold that pause, fight for it, engage everything you've got, and then drive it up. What that means is we're going to get stronger in that end range of motion. Now, when we get stronger in those end ranges, what it's going to do is help, even in everyday life, prevent injuries because we have strength in our joints and in our muscles through those end ranges. So we're not going to do something where we get onto the ground or we go to pick something up and our body goes on us, and it's because we just don't have that stability. So really good exercise. Pause, goblet squats, 4 seconds down, 2-second pause at the bottom, and then a drive up. Elevate the heels if you need that extra bit of support to get into a deeper range of motion. Okay, let's move on. So another area that for a lot of people that seems to get tight and stiff and also weak for many people is our hamstrings. So we can stretch and stretch and stretch, but I want to show you a better way. So firstly, some full range strength for our hamstrings is a hinge. So feet are hip width apart. Spread your toes. Make sure the feet are right underneath your hips, pointing forward. Now what we want to maintain, and this is a pattern, it's just a pattern that we need to practice, is this hinge. That's going to open up our posterior chain, and then we're going to start strengthening it. So if I do it with no weight, I sometimes like to have my hand in my lower back so I make sure that that doesn't round or change position. We're going to hinge and send our sit bones, these 2 bones that are right underneath our glutes, behind us. You can have a soft bend in the knee, and we're going to hinge, 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 hinge. You can have a little bend, but the work is coming from the hip. That's going straight back. Now, as soon as you feel like to get any further, I have to round my back, you've gone too far. So flat back, we hinge, send those sit bones back. Now, get to your end range and hold. You should be feeling like a lengthening in the back of the hamstrings here. Yeah, and a flat back. From here, push the heels into the ground as if you're going to come up, but don't actually move. And see if you can feel the engagement of the back of the legs, and then drive it up. Let's try again. So, straight back, we start to slide those sit bones back behind you until we can feel that lengthening of the back of the legs. Yeah, push the heels into the ground as if we're going to move. Should feel that engagement, and then drive it up. All right, so now let's load it. So we're going to grab a weight or 2 weights, up to you. You can either have 1 weight in 2 hands, or you can have 2 weights either side. So, and if you have 2 weights either side, that's more like that. If you have 1 weight, it will go in between. So now, keeping that chest proud, so remember we don't want to round through that upper back. So if you've got a weight, even more reason you have to pull back a little bit. All right, so here, start to lengthen the back of the hamstring, flat back. Get down to that end range before you need to round the back. Push the heels into the ground and then drive it up. The weight just stays right underneath the shoulders. We want to find that full range. Again, that little pause and drive it up. So if you want to work more on that lengthening of the back of the legs, you're going to keep those legs straight and just work on whatever that end range is, and then pushing up and coming up. So what we're doing by adding the weight is starting to load the hamstrings to get them lengthened but also strong. So if I was to do more like a single leg RDL, my face this way, so I stand on a single leg with the leg behind me. Now what you have to be careful with this one is that the hips don't open. We want to keep them pointing forward. And we're going to, you can have again a small bend in the knee if you like, but mainly this is coming from the hinge. So hinge, hinge, hinge. Maybe you've got some blocks here or something to touch, and then engage the back of the leg and come up. Hinge, hips stay square. Maybe you just need to go to there and engage and come back up. If I was to add a weight, it goes in that opposite arm, hips square. I start to lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Of course, being a single leg, it's going to take a bit more control. You might even want to hold on to a stick or have a wall nearby. So just do a few each side here to practice this lengthening and strengthening of your back of your legs, your hamstrings. So from here, hip square, one foot is back. I start to hinge at the hip, that leg goes back. I maintain the same length of the hamstring and then engage and come up. Again, lengthen, 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 flat back, no rounding, and come up. So again, it's a great idea to film yourself doing it so you can see if there's a certain range where you start to round your back. So that would be a full range strength exercise. You're going to your maximum length using weight and then coming back up. The way you would progress that week after week would be by starting to increase your weight. So the heavier your weight on that full range of motion means that you're going to get more flexible but also stronger as well. So that's where a lot of there's sort of this myth of like when we use the heavier weights we use, we're going to get stiffer or more restricted, but it's actually the opposite. If it's done slow and controlled, the heavier weights you've got, you're going to get more range, which is what we want. Okay, so if we're going to continue on the hamstrings, if that's something specific, doing a loaded stretch, is a great way to start increasing that flexibility. So if I've got a bench here, I can bring one leg even onto a block or a bench if you've got that there. And you can start with something really light, doesn't have to be a heavy weight. And then from here, you can have that weight in each arm. You can either have this knee slightly bent if it's too much to have it straight. And then from here, we hinge again, just like before, until we get that, like that's enough. And if I go any further, I have to round. So I'm gonna try and keep this leg straight if you can. If you are going to keep the legs straight, try and squeeze the kneecap and pull the toes back. Otherwise, to start out, you just have that little bend in the knee and that's fine. As long as the movement is happening from the hips, I go to my full range. What can I get to? I pause, maybe a 4-second pause, and then I drive up. Okay, we hinge, slow and controlled. I pause, and then drive up. I'm really trying to lengthen my back, so I'm not letting the weights round me. 4, hold, drive up. And again, hinge, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, drive up. Let's go one more. Hinge, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, drive up. Okay, so I would do like 8 to 10 of these, and on the last rep, I'd probably hold for 10 seconds. So let's get to our end range and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then coming up all together. Let's even ourselves out and do that on the other side. Tall spine, knee bent or straight. We hinge, hold, 2, 3, 4, drive up. Again, I keep the length. So this is a strong exercise for building the flexibility of our hamstrings. It's super effective. You don't need to do this kind of exercise every day to work on your hamstring length. Go, hold, 2, 3, 4, drive it up. And again, hinge, hold, 2, 3, 4, drive it up. Let's do one more. Hinge, and then hold, 2, 3, 4, drive it up. And then let's go as our last rep. Let's hinge, hold, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, coming up. Okay, so that's just one example of how we can use strength training to help improve our flexibility. And that example is in our hamstrings. Okay, so as you guys know, if you follow us a lot, we really value keeping our strength to get up and down off the floor so that we can build this ability, this range, and then be able to maintain it for our whole life so that we are strong and able all the way in our 70s, 80s, 90s, and we don't, we keep that ability. That's really one of our values and our goals of why we train. So if it's yours too, then you are going to really value the curtsy squat, because the elements that we practice in the curtsy squat are really valuable in strength when it comes to getting up and down off the ground. So how we practice this one is we step one leg behind, like this. Now, you can see when the foot steps behind, my toe is tucked. Can you guys see that? Here, my toe is tucked. Now, that range in my big toe, you'll know that that's a range that we need in our lunge as well. If I was to lunge and get up and down off the ground, that is a range here. And this is a lot of a big issue. If we don't train and don't practice this big toe flexion here, then arthritis can start to set in as we get older, and it becomes a real issue when we want to lunge. I used to see patients who would have a lot of trouble lunging because they couldn't get this range on their big toe. So that's why doing exercises like these are really important. So we step one leg behind, toe tucked. Now from here, you can see my hips open a little bit. That's okay. As we come down and we bend, we can start to turn the pelvis forward, if you like, start to rotate forward, and we come into a little bit of twist. We get this nice active glute stretch here, and then we step onto a single leg and come together. So I step behind, toe tucked, I come down into my squat here, and then I press through the single leg and I come together. Now you might have to do this body weight to start with as you build the pattern. And obviously, as you get better at it, we want to even get down to the knee resting lightly and then drive it up. It becomes almost like a step up. Of course, then we can start to add weight, and I will just hold it like a goblet squat here. And this is where we can build our strength. I step behind, everything is slow and controlled. We're not rushing. I come down, maybe try my full range, and then I drive it up. So try a few on both sides. Other leg, I step behind, I open the pelvis, I come into my twist, and then I step up. Step back, tuck toe, bend. Maybe you just get to here for now, but especially as you add weight, it's gonna help you start getting deeper and deeper. You might even get a box, what do I want to call it? A block or a bolster, and actually put it underneath the knee and kind of stop there, and then step up to kind of give you that little point to work on. As you get better at it, you can come down to that knee. You can even untuck the toe and sit back. Then we come back up, we tuck the toe, we drive it up, and we come to here. So if you want to try that full range with or without weight here, and then you can sit back onto the heel. Toe can be tucked or untucked if you're sitting down onto the ground. We come up, press through that single leg, and come up. Step back, toe tucked, lower to the ground, sit back onto the heel, chest up, come back, retrace your step, and up. So finish off whichever side you're doing, and hopefully now you can see the necessity of working through the curtsy squats, one of my favorites. Really strengthens the glutes, but it also is going to work the big toe through its full range of motion, your knee, your ankles as well. Like as you come down, like it's a fair bit of ankle dorsiflexion, and you load it. And then also this single leg stability, being able to step up off the ground, which is so difficult for so many. So just work on, again, you just start where you're at. You might just start here and then step and practice here. You might use a stick or a wall or a chair nearby for stability. There's always a starting point no matter where you are at. Okay, so let's move on to some upper body work where we work both, again, strength and flexibility. So I want to start with the good old push-up, because I know for so many, especially females, that we tend to always stick to a shortened range of motion on the knees and kind of never progress from there. So I want to show you some things that are going to help get the full range of motion in your shoulders, because especially as we get older, all the tendons of our shoulders start to lose blood supply, and if we're not strengthening them through all ranges of motion, you'll notice, you probably know someone who's older and has torn their rotator cuff, but then they don't actually play tennis or do some exercise, but somehow their shoulder has torn. I think this is a lot to do with the health of the shoulder joint, and then also the spine as well, being able to, if we start to get kyphotic as we get older and we start to get rounded in our back, it's going to be harder to get our full range of motion, as opposed to if we can maintain our posture. Okay, so we're going to also cover a little bit of spine in this workshop, but let's start with the push-up. Such a good one. So firstly, when I think a very missed part of the push-up is our shoulder blades. So if you just come to all fours here and really spread your fingers, a lot of the time when we start our push-up, our shoulders are back behind our wrists, and this is not going to load the range in our wrists. So our shoulders need to be over, if not in front of our wrists here. So that's number one. So if you film yourself doing a push-up, have a look, where are your shoulders lining up here? A lot of the time, because of weak wrists, we avoid the range of loading them in this position here. So elbows straight. The knees can just stay under the shoulders for now. And then from here, the back stays straight. We're going to drop the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. So this is shoulder blade range of motion. This is retraction, slide away. This is protraction. We also want the eye of the elbows forward. Yeah. So retraction, slide them and squeeze them together, and protraction. So the more you practice this pattern, the more range you can get through these shoulders. And that's really going to have an effect on our shoulder health and range of motion, but also our spine, because these things sit on our back, on top of our ribs. Okay, so just do a few here, scapular push-ups. This is a great warm-up if you're about to do some push-ups, to just do some scapular push-ups first. In our Journey to Chin-Up course, we do scapular pull-ups, which is where we do this, but hanging. So this is the motion of retraction and protraction, and when we're hanging, we'll do elevation and depression. Okay, so from there, we now can press the shoulder blades away, and at the top of the push-up, we want to get this protraction, this spreading of the shoulder blades. So if I just bring my knees here, now one thing I always recommend when you're doing your push-up is that you give yourself a point to touch with your chest. So we are always working on the depth of our push-up and not just doing the push-up for the sake of it. It might be a block up on the high setting, it might be a block on the low setting, or maybe you're getting your chest to the ground each time and that's the range you're going for. So I set myself up, I take my knees back if you're doing knees on the ground. I shift myself forward so that my shoulders are in front of my of my wrists. I spread the fingers and just turn them slightly out. So with the hand position, it's kind of like here, like you're trying to wind and get this lat engagement. This is what we want. We don't want to be here. We want to be there. Yeah, can you feel that when you just get that turn in the ground, but you're not actually moving your hands? That's the feeling that we want. So I shift forward, my knees are back. I've got my point of contact. I protract the shoulders, so they're spreading. Then I start to lower my chest, bend my elbows. You can feel those shoulders starting to come together as I touch, get my full range here. Chest and belly lifts at the same time. And then I spread the shoulder blades apart at the end. So shoulder blades start to draw in. I start to lower, chest and belly move together, and then I press away. Notice a lot of the time, as I mentioned with the shoulders, as you start to press away, your shoulders might press back. So keep leaning forward. If you do your full push-up, it's exactly the same. Shift forward, chest and belly works together. You get that touch, and then press, 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 press. Spread the shoulder blades at the end as you press away and the elbows are straight. So just do a couple more. Coming down with control, get that touch. And then press away. One more. Bend the elbows slow and controlled, get that touch. And then drive it back up. So this is how you start from here, then you go to here, then you might do full push-up. But because you're not used to full push-up, you might go back to here, there, and then the floor. And that is how we build up the range. We're constantly progressing. And this is what we do in our 12-week strength and mobility rounds in our membership, is that we help you progress both your strength and your range of motion week after week, because that's progress. That's what we want. We want to make sure we're progressing from week after week. Okay, so you know how important our spine mobility is for our shoulders. So let's just go through one of the range of motions that tends to get limited as we get older. And if we're not training it, we are going to lose our ability to get into this position. And I truly believe this is what affects our posture the most. There's no real perfect posture for us to stand in. Of course, the more balanced we are, the more even our joints are going to feel. But if we lose our ability to back bend, everything already in our everyday life is forward. You could only have to see a 90-year-old to see what gravity, what aging naturally does to our posture. So the more we can improve our back extension and the more we can improve that range of motion, the better for our back, the better for our back health. I think it's going to prevent so much pain and injuries in the future if we can stay supple in our spine. So I just want to go through the range of back extension and some drills that you can do to make sure you maintain that range in strength and in flexibility. So I think just the standing version is very underestimated. When we think of like back stretches, if you've got back pain, most people will either do like a spine twist. I think we're just so limited in the tools that we have. This is such a simple one. I think it can be done as a movement snack if you need a break to shake things up at work. All you need is a wall. So what you're going to do is just step about 1 foot away from the wall. And then from here, we're going to roll our shoulders down and back. Now, obviously our lower back is already in extension. So I like to focus on the upper back. So I tuck under and I squeeze my bottom. That's going to help just protect putting too much load on that lower back. From here, I lengthen my spine. I think about getting as tall as I can and keeping that squeeze in my bottom. I elevate my spine. I start to back bend and see if I can get the top of my head to touch the wall. And then I come back. So if I was to show you side on I'm just pretending that there was a wall there. I tuck under, squeeze my bottom, elevate, start to draw the shoulders down. You don't want it just to become from the neck. So I kind of keep that same range of the neck. I start to go back till I get that touch on the wall, and then I come back again. Now I'll usually do about 8 of these. And as I feel like I can get a bit more range, just step a little bit more forward from the wall, tuck under, squeeze, and then start to go a little bit further. As you get even more confident in that range of motion, I even sometimes like to get a box, maybe about this height, and from here, I'll squeeze my body and come and see if I can touch the box and come back up. You always want to choose a range that you can come back up with control. So I really like the standing back bend. You can do it supine is another way. So on your tummy is another great way to help build the back muscles with just using gravity, obviously, because you're on your tummy. So there's a few ways to do this. You can have your fingertips just on the ground either side. From here, you can have a gentle press of those fingertips. I like to keep the feet together and coming up to your greatest range and then coming back down again. Lengthening the spine, seeing if you can get more range through that upper back, coming up and down. And then if you want to start to make it harder, you can just have the hands by your side and you can rotate them. So squeezing the shoulders down and back. See if you can lift, and then come down all the way. Shoulder blades draw back, lift, and coming down. Another hand position that works really well is just having the hands here, and that starts to hover, lift, trying to think open through the chest, lift, bringing the chest forward and coming down. Let's do one more like that. Hands just by your side, hover, lift, squeeze your bottom, get those back muscles on, shoulders away from the ears, get to your highest point and come down. So those are really simple ways you can start to build your range of motion in your back extension. And then obviously working towards back bends, but just working on wherever you are at and just chipping away at improving that range of motion, because you truly can improve that range of motion no matter what your starting point is and no matter what your age is. It's just about finding a way that you can build from. So I hope this workshop has really opened your mind to a new way of training that's more sustainable, that's intentional, that's really thinking about the longevity of your body and making sure that we are taking care of your joints and building muscle at the same time. So how do we improve those two things? We start to increase our weights over time. We love hearing our students say, you know, if that's the worst thing about training like this, if they had to go down and get new heavier weights, then I think we're doing something right, because that means that their body is adapting and they can handle heavier weights. And then we start to improve our range of motion. And when you start a 12-week round in our membership, we have a mobility assessment that you can do and you can film yourself. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, you can retest and see those improvements in your range of motion. And it's just so cool to see on your body. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment below, send us a DM. We would love to have you join us for our next 12-week round inside the A-Life Anywhere. We progress from week to week. The commitment is doing one upper body strength and mobility session, one lower body strength and mobility session per week, and then we have one whole body mobility session. So that is the minimum 3 classes that you can do at home with just minimal equipment, starting with whatever you've got, or you can even take the sessions to the gym if you prefer. You also get access to our entire library, which has express classes, so you can wake up and do 15 to 20 minute movement class. We've got HIIT classes, yoga, chapter. There's so much to choose from, but what's most important is that we see improvement and you see improvements in your body from week 1 to week 12. So if you can only do those 3 sessions, then you are going to see a huge improvement in the way you feel now, but also thinking about you and your body in 10, 20, 30 years time. This is the way you need to train intentionally, sustainably, and you can do it by yourself with our support at home. We hope you can join us.